Hey everybody, I'm Michelle with Birdie Bloom, and today I am doing a bag opening video in this box, which I kind of started to tear off the outer lining of the box. I have not opened it yet, but in this box is a bag that I have waited a couple of years for. I'm super excited to be getting it. Over that time, my willingness to what I was willing to pay increased, and it wasn't cheap, but I think it was reasonable considering what the bags typically go for these days. And it's also the longest running bag by Coach. I know I've mentioned this before. This is not necessarily a new style, but we're going to talk about some of the specifics of this particular bag and style and how they might have changed over the years, at least in the vintage Coach years. Yeah, and I'm excited to do this bag opening. So I've already, like I said, cut some of it. Just a repurposed box here. Not a dehumidifier. But interesting, I wonder if that's a pretty good dehumidifier. I have a little card here. Oh, that's really pretty. Watercolor. So, all right, just a nice little note there. This bag is really wrapped nicely for protection. I will reuse this. I reuse packaging materials. You know, the whole reason I got into vintage Coach was because I like to recycle. I like to reuse things. I like to buy used. I always have, and repurpose. So that's how I found vintage Coach, and I continue that. Okay, let me just cut into this real quick, this plastic. I'm like nervous. I'm really nervous. There's a little peek. It's red. Oh my goodness. My lighting is not very good here from what I can see, but oh my goodness. And I am just admiring this bag right now and the feel. Oh my goodness. Wow. This is so lovely and so soft. And I'm just gonna kind of show you a little bit here, but as you can see, this is a duffel sack, guys. And no, duffel sacks are not new to me, but this particular duffel sack is, and I'm gonna tell you why. Look at, there is your identifier, this Coach cartouche stamp. It's on the outside of this bag. There's no pocket inside here. Oh, wow, I'm excited. And that just led me to think about something else that maybe I haven't quite like identified with the duffel sacks. We'll talk about that too, but let me just get her strap. I want to try her on first, but oh my gosh, look at, oh yeah. So you have your raw backed leather. It came with the original hang tag, the square top. This is a 1970s bag, guys. And then you have even the squared faceted ball chain here. It's not just simply balls. The little balls are faceted. Oh, love it. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, my nerves are dissipating. Oh, wow, this is a good find on the person's part. I think she found it thrifting. Yeah, and that's awesome to have the eye for it and to grab it and then for it to find its way to me. So excited. Okay, So, oh, it's so soft. Let's stuff her a little bit. But yeah, the Duffle Sac. Coach released it in 1971. I do believe it was originally a Bonnie Cashin design. Oh my gosh, look how pretty this is. So this bag ran, and it continues to run, not technically in the same style, but for the most part in the very similar style that's true to this like look here through the 90s, maybe a little bit into the 2000s. I'm trying to think if I've seen a 2000s, like a made in China duffel sack that's true to this form. I know that they brought them back in that 2012, 2011 time frame when they actually reintroduced, again, the raw leather vintage styles, and the duffel sacks came back then at that point. But yeah, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. Okay, I know that y'all didn't come here for me to just be like, ooh, ah, oh, but that's what I feel like doing. I'm gonna go ahead and just try her on here. I have fallen in love with just the duffel sack for sure. It is a favorite style of mine. Okay, but let's talk about it. And why was this one that I waited for years? Because I have lots of duffel sacks, okay? I'm not low on duffel sacks. So in 1971, you can see some advertisements here. These advertisements actually, I know I've mentioned her before, but on Instagram, Vintage Coachy. Her name is Rachel Noir, and she's also an admin now in the Eye Candy group on Facebook. So yay, thank you, Rachel. But she has an archive where she's collected multiple advertisements, and she's put them into a Flickr account. You can buy her coffee through that Instagram Flickr account if you choose to, but she has all of those for your viewing pleasure, and so you can do your own research. But here's some ads, and you can see this duffel sack down here. Now, something that I am so glad I reached out to Rachel for, because I did not realize this. The reason that I was waiting for this particular bag, but it's the bottom here. Do you see the bottom? I call these flat bottoms. That is not the correct term. That is also not a term that's gonna help you when searching for one, but I've just always referred to them as flat bottoms, and I've wanted one ever since that dinosaur bag that I've also shared with you guys. Her name is Megan, who has a dinosaur bag. That's how I found my Sonoma, spruce green, nubuck, duffel. Love that bag because I just wanted this dinosaur bag that Megan had. And I adored it, but I've been wanting one with a flat bottom. I've got plenty that have the seam that go around, or the binding that goes around the bottom, and that's going to be the more common duffel sack. Here is an example of that binding. But originally, I thought this was the first duffel sack design with this flat bottom, and it was not. So originally, I cannot find a really good picture, but Rachel Noir pointed out there was this tiny little seam that went along this type of bottom closure. It was a very thin seam. So that was the original. And that one came both with, I guess she called it piping. That makes sense, calling it piping. That came with a metal tag. And that was probably 1971 to maybe 73 time, but early 70s there. And then you get this one, which is there's no seam, no binding, no piping. Sorry, I guess this is a seam. No piping, no binding. This little flat bottom beauty. These bags both came with metal tags and cartouches. And I have seen, what I've realized, this one doesn't have a pocket. So that's something I'm gonna need to dive back into more. Did some of the early ones have pockets? None of them have pockets until a certain time? Like, that's something I wanna look at a little bit more, because I know you do see some pockets sometimes, but the metal tag could be on the outside or the inside. Here's an example of one on the outside. And the cartouche also, but the cartouche is only on the inside if it had a pocket. So, but this, yeah, flat bottom beauties came with both metal tags and cartouches. So both are pre-creeds. That's what two things that we call pre-creed. There's no creed. And then there was a change, an interesting change, and this is also a relatively rare bag, and it's when you see the seam down the middle. So as you can see, there's a seam down the side here. No seam in the middle, the seams are on the side. Well, they did this little change in the like mid-70s, and the seam was down the middle, which gives it a cute little look, a different look. But there was binding along the bottom. Okay, so all of the ones that have the seam down the middle, such as in this Coach Originals puzzle, that's an example of the duffel sack with the seam down the middle, they all had that binding around the bottom. Okay, so there's that. So if you're looking for that one, you have with those both the cartouche, so like this bag has that little stamp, that little Coach itty bitty stamp. You had both a cartouche and you had the a New York City creed, okay, which actually didn't necessarily have numbers underneath. So that's what you will find with that center seam with the binding on the bottom. And then the next duffel sack just changed to the side seam again and binding on the bottom. And there were some other changes that occurred. You might see different type of hardware on the earlier ones. This can look different on the sides, the way that the strap buckle is attached to the bag. That can be different. And the pull tag can also be different. The zipper also might look a little different, but this is ours. And they do seem to be a little shorter and chunkier earlier on, but the zipper is like butter. Oh, it's so nice. It's so lovely. Oh, so yeah, that is kind of like a really quick rundown of the duffel sack, a style that has become one of my favorites. And then, you know, like I said, the duffel sack, it ran into the 90s. So you start out with metal tag, and then you have like the cartouche, and then you have that New York City creed, which has its own changes over time. And then that goes to just United States creed. And then you go, I mean, it was made through the 90s, right? And so you have the duffel sack that was made in Costa Rica and Hungary and Italy. You have Dominican Republic. You can find them all different types of like little, you know, with little changes in the leather, because, you know, the leather from all of these countries is a little different. Yeah, there's so much variability. This bag was run for so long, the longest running bag made by Coach. There's not another one. And they continue, it's iconic, and they continue to bring it back in other ways. There's a lot of different modern duffel sacks, so I'm not gonna get into all of that. But yeah, I don't know, do I have anything else to say about that? I don't think so. I am very pleased with my bag, my new bag. I really am happy that it's red. I didn't have a color preference. I just wanted one in good condition. I've passed some up based on price, condition, and there are some listed and they're in beautiful condition, but maybe just based on price. I've passed some up over time. Not sure if I would regret it, but I have. I know I've passed some of the seam down the middles as well up, and I do regret that, but that's another story. So yeah, I'm really happy that it's a bright red. I love red. I might now have to get rid of all my other red bags because I hate to say it, but this one is probably gonna be the one that gets picked every single time. So I love this. Oh, she is beautiful. What do you think about her? All right, yeah. Oh, I was also gonna mention that, as you know, I have like that nubuck, Sonoma duffel The Duffle Sac was also with a different style number because the style number is 9085, but the Berkeley line did like a reverse leather duffel sack. So you have that as well. Such a nice bag. And the duffel sack was also made in the Spectator line. So I have seen a couple of those recently. They are absolutely stunning. Not cheap, very beautiful though. And you don't see those often, but they made the duffel sack in the Spectator line too. You know what I don't know? I'm not sure I've ever seen one of the twill duffel sacks. That doesn't mean they don't exist. In the twill line, I've talked about that before, you know, that khaki twill with a tabak leather trim. I think it's a very like classy, sexy looking style. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a twill duffel sack, so I don't think they did that one. But yeah, such an awesome bag, so iconic. And now I've got my flat bottom beauty. Well, I know that was a little long, sorry, I'm like smitten here. This was a break from the Ergo series because I wanted to get this on video. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you don't already for some more Vintage Coach bag talks. And also, if you are not already a member, please come on over and join Vintage Coach Eye Candy group on Facebook. I have added some more administrators to that group, all very creative and knowledgeable women. I would say that some of these people are the reason I created the group. I just really vibe off of some of the content that they create on social media, and yeah, so I'm really excited to have them as part of the team. And yeah, all right, well, thanks guys. Bye-bye.